Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Just about to the end of another work week, and we've got our final preseason game coming up. It's going to be tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Very unusual start time for a preseason game for me. I can't remember the last time we had a preseason game at 10 a.m. that I watched, period, much less a Seahawks preseason game at 10 a.m. But that's what they've given us, so I'm going to go ahead and do the pregame now rather than an hour before kickoff. So, Seahawks at the Packers for the final preseason game for both teams. One interesting wrinkle about this game is that the Packers lost almost a full half of preseason last week. Last week they were playing the Patriots, and the game got called a little after the third quarter started. So they may need to make up for lost time a little bit. They may need to do things that they normally wouldn't do in a third preseason game because they didn't get those reps at the end of the Patriots game. So I don't know if that's going to affect what they end up doing in terms of who they play and what they do when those guys play, but it seems logical to me that it probably would. That's a significant portion of the preseason the Packers just lost. Um, it has already been said that Jordan Love is going to play at least some in this game. So we are going to see Jordan Love. And if they're playing Jordan Love, then we're going to see the starting offensive line and at least some of the starters in general on offense, right? Because I don't think you throw Jordan Love out there and then stick him with a bunch of guys who are fighting to make the team, unless you really, really like those guys, I guess. But especially on the offensive line, you usually don't want to mess around with that. So the Packers look like they're going to be going for it a little bit, so you're not going to get to play the whole game against third and fourth stringers, which, hey, not a bad thing at all, right? Not a bad thing at all. We're going to get a look at some Packers starters, and this is a team that figures to have some difficult decisions to make. This is not a team that is in a set state right now. The Packers are in flux, maybe more than they've been in, I don't know, maybe it's been more than a decade since it was the last time their roster was in this much of a flexible situation. So they've got a lot to play for as well. Not in terms of winning or losing the game, of course, but they've got a lot that will be determined by what happens tomorrow morning. So, with that being said, what are some things the Seahawks have to play for in this game? So, offensively, there are a few things, not a lot, like quarterback. We all know that Geno's going to be the starter and Locke is going to be the backup. There's really no way around that, I don't think. I know some people are big Holton Allers fans and think that he's better than Locke, but I really don't think that's happening. Maybe Holton plays so well he makes Locke expendable, but even then you'd still have to find a trade partner, and I don't think anything's going to happen there. So obviously you want to see Geno play well because he is supposedly going to play in this game, and you want to see Locke play well, but there aren't really stakes there. Running back, apparently Kobach is hurt. So he's now off the table for your practice squad running back. So Sir Roderick Thompson, hopefully we can see good things from him. Because if Sir Roderick Thompson plays well, I'm sure he'll get first nod for the practice squad spot. And he might even get poached before we get to that point. So there's stuff on the line for him. Wide receiver, my main focus is going to be Matt Landers. Not that it matters right now, but Matt Landers is a guy who has a chance to develop in the future because he is very talented, but because of how raw he is and how completely unready he is to play football now, I think you are likely going to see nobody pick him up when we waive him. So really good chance he gets to our practice squad. But I want to see him get these reps. I want to see what he can do against other NFL and fringe NFL players. So it was a relief to know that the injury he had wasn't serious. This is an opportunity for him to start building those reps and get to the point where he can one day become some kind of an NFL player, right? Tight end, the new tight end that we signed from the XFL, whose name is slipping my mind at the moment. Maybe if he gets out there, that would be interesting because if he looks like he can play in the NFL, that gives us some options. I don't believe we would explore those options, but it would at least put it on the table. If you're talking about things like trading Noah Fant, then I think you need to find another tight end who is at least NFL capable, and it could end up being that guy. There aren't that many guys it could be, right? Like um, Griffin Abear. I'm sorry, yeah, Griffin Abear is not really a tight end in the NFL in my estimation. The Gryffindor guy has already been released, and Mabry is just Mabry. So, just looking at all these different things, and I'm seeing a need at tight end if you want to trade Noah Fant. So I guess that could be kind of interesting if he even gets out there. But the main thing I want to see here is the offensive line. Of course, I'm talking about the starters. I'm talking about guys like Evan Brown. I'm talking about guys like Cross, who gave up a sack last week. We don't want to see that this week. And again, I'm sure that if Gino's playing, those guys are going to play. But really, big picture, I'm more interested in seeing the backups. You've got Oluwatimi, who's supposed to play in this game. If he does, I just want to see how it's coming along with him, because his number may get called before this season ends. And he's a rookie, so there's no guarantee he's ready for it if his number does get called. But we can start to see how far along he might be in games like this. So I really want to see Oluwatimi, but also two guys who I think are fighting for their roster spot, kind of like how we have a little bit of a fight at the receiver spot right now because of all the issues we're having there. I think we could be seeing a little bit of a roster battle for the left side for the backups. Like Anthony Bradford's not going to go anywhere. Jake Curhan's not going anywhere. Both those guys have value that's already kind of been determined. They have value to this team, but Stone Forsythe and Greg Island, I think, could go one way or the other. Forsythe has played poorly in this preseason, and if he doesn't play well in this game, we might just decide to pull the cord here, because we might figure there's no way any random offensive lineman we put out there is going to be any worse than Forsythe, so what's the point? Forsythe is making a slightly inflated amount of money because he was drafted. Go get a UDFA. Or just throw Jake Curhan out there, and it's not going to be any worse. That might be what we end up concluding if Forsythe looks terrible again. So I think he's kind of fighting just for the right to stay on this team as the backup left tackle. And Greg Island is a guy who's sat on the practice squad for a little while now, but with this opportunity he has to kind of take the empty seat as a backup left guard, he might end up making the team. In fact, it's possible we go with 9 offensive linemen, and Island and Forsythe are fighting for the 9th spot. So I'm keeping an eye on that. I want to see how those guys play. And I think how they play could go a long way in determining how the reserve offensive line on this team is made up. So that's really what I'm looking for in the offense. Obviously, you want to see them play well. Obviously, you want to see things go well. But so many things have just become definites, right? Like, we already know Jake Bobo's making this team, I think. There's no way Bobo doesn't make the team. Whatever he does in this game is not really going to change that, right? We already kind of know that Derek Young's going to make the team, even with him not playing in this game, I believe, because odds are good at this point that he's going to get IR'd, so you're not even going to have to put him on the roster at first. So that kind of stuff is, in my estimation, already determined, but I'm just trying to find the things that are that could go one way or the other. So on defense, obviously a lot of people are going to have eyes on Levi Bell. If he can have another big game, some interesting things are going to happen. Are we going to be able to keep him? How are we going to be able to keep him? What are we willing to do to keep him? There's a lot going on with Levi Bell, and if he plays really well in this game, he might force our hand. We might have to go, okay, can he play on the defensive line? Can he play inside linebacker at all? Is there any flexibility here to where we can utilize him in a non-traditional role? Or maybe we determine, okay, he can only play edge. We're not going to carry 6 edges, so now what? Are we going to do like a Darrell Taylor trade to clear a little bit of space so Levi Bell can be the 5th edge? Are we going to, like, there's some stuff that needs to be handled if you want to get Levi Bell on this team. But if he doesn't play well against Green Bay, it might all be moot. Like, so far, he's farmed some really good numbers against lower levels of competition. Green Bay might give him an opportunity, we'll see, to give him an opportunity to do stuff against slightly better players. We'll have to see what Green Bay does on their offense, but you got to believe the starting offensive line is going to be out there with Jordan Love. So if Love's playing, we're going to get to see some starting linemen as well. I don't believe we're going to get Mike Morris or Cam Young, so there's not a whole lot to watch there. Vi Jones is not playing in this game either. He would have been fascinating to watch, in my opinion, but that's not going to happen. I don't think we're getting Brooks. We're obviously not getting Adams. So, Jarek Reed, Kobe Bryant, those are guys to watch. Jarek Reed still trying to secure a spot on the team. Kobe Bryant trying to prove that he can at least, in some capacity, get it done as a safety. So, I guess I would say those things are the main priorities for me on this defense. Seeing how Jarran Reed looks at nose tackle, I guess, because that is an interesting gamble this team is taking right now in order to try to resolve some of the issues they have with their roster design. And I can't really think of too much else, right? Like, we're not seeing Witherspoon, we're not seeing Woolen. A lot of the other guys who might play, we already know if they're going to make the team or not, pretty much. Like, Pat O'Connell, I don't believe has a real chance to make the roster, so if he plays well, then good for him. But at best, I feel like he's fighting for a practice squad spot. There are some other guys on this team, like Jacob Sykes, that I think are just so hard for them to make the roster. It's tough to even really think about that much. And yeah, that's what I'm prioritizing. So let me know what you guys think. Go Hawks. See you guys later.